The Israel-Palestine conflict, a deeply rooted struggle. The conflict between Israel and Palestine is one of the longest-running and most deeply rooted struggles in modern history. It is a story of land, identity, faith, and survival, a conflict where every side carries pain and every loss deepens the divide. The roots of the conflict trace back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries, during a time of rising nationalism. Jewish communities, facing centuries of persecution in Europe, sought a homeland. They looked to Palestine, a land with deep religious significance, where a small Jewish population already lived among a majority Arab population. After World War I, Britain took control of Palestine. In 1917, the British issued the Balfour Declaration, supporting the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. But this land was already home to hundreds of thousands of Palestinian Arabs, who saw this as a threat to their own homeland. The Holocaust during World War II brought unimaginable suffering to Jewish communities, intensifying their calls for a safe homeland. Waves of Jewish immigrants arrived in Palestine, leading to growing tensions with the Arab population. The British, caught in the middle, struggled to maintain order as violence erupted. In 1947, the United Nations proposed a plan to partition Palestine into two states, one for Jews and one for Arabs, with Jerusalem as an international city. The Jewish leaders accepted the plan, but the Arab leaders rejected it, seeing it as an unjust division of their land. In 1948, Israel declared its independence. This marked the beginning of the First Arab-Israeli War, as neighboring Arab states invaded. When the war ended, Israel controlled much of the territory that had been allocated for a Palestinian state. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were displaced, becoming refugees, a tragedy they call the Nakba, or catastrophe. In 1967, during the Six-Day War, Israel captured more land, including the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and East Jerusalem. These areas, home to millions of Palestinians, have since been at the heart of the conflict. For Palestinians, this was an occupation. For Israelis, it was a fight for security. The decades that followed saw cycles of violence, peace talks, and broken promises. Israeli settlements expanded in the West Bank, deepening Palestinian resentment. Palestinians, under occupation and blockade, faced economic hardship and limited freedoms. In 2007, Hamas, a militant group, took control of Gaza. Tensions escalated into deadly wars, with rockets fired into Israeli cities and devastating airstrikes on Gaza. Civilians on both sides bore the brunt of the violence, with children growing up amidst fear and hatred. The conflict has drawn in global powers, with the United States, the European Union, and neighboring Arab states all playing roles. But decades of diplomacy have failed to bring lasting peace. The fundamental issues, land, sovereignty, security, and the right of return for Palestinian refugees, remain unresolved. This is not just a conflict of borders. It is a human tragedy where every bomb dropped, every life lost, widens the chasm between two peoples with rightful claims to the same land. It is a story of pain, resilience, and the desperate need for justice. But there is hope. Throughout history, we have seen moments when Israelis and Palestinians have come together, striving for peace. These moments remind us that the conflict is not inevitable. It is man-made, and what is man-made can be resolved. The war between Israel and Palestine is rooted in history, but its future is not set in stone. To end this cycle of violence, the world must support solutions that address the core issues, respect the rights of both peoples, and prioritize humanity over politics. Peace will not come easily, but it must come. For the sake of the children who deserve to grow up without fear, for the families who deserve to live in their homes, not among ruins, and for the future of a land too sacred to be stained with endless bloodshed.